across the vast frozen wilderness of Russia, from the windswept steppes of Siberia to the ancient forests of the Urals. Mysteries older than recorded history lie buried beneath snow and stone. These aren't your typical archaeological puzzles. We're talking about discoveries so bizarre, so completely outside the realm of modern understanding that scientists have been scratching their heads for decades. Stone circles that shouldn't exist. Artifacts that predate known civilizations by thousands of years. Underground chambers carved with impossible precision. And structures so massive, so perfectly aligned with celestial events, that they challenge everything we thought we knew about our ancestors. Russia holds secrets that make Stonehenge look like a backyard project. But here's the thing that'll really mess with your head. Most of these discoveries have been kept quiet, buried in academic papers, dismissed by mainstream archaeology, or simply forgotten, and I'm about to take you on a journey through Russia, the chaos of political upheaval. Until now is most baffling ancient mysteries, the kind that make you question not just history but reality itself. We're going to explore megalithic structures that DW advanced technology existed long before it should have, and uncover evidence of civilizations ARF anything in Europe, discover artifacts that suggest that supposedly never existed. But here's what makes this even more incredible. Every single mystery I'm about to show you defies current scientific explanation. Carbon dating that doesn't make sense. Engineering that shouldn't be possible with primitive tools. Astronomical alignments so precise they rival modern observatories. These discoveries are so controversial that some researchers have risked their careers just to study them. My name is Baffling Tales, and over the next hour I'm going to reveal 7 of Russia's most mind-bending ancient mysteries. Mysteries that could completely rewrite human history if mainstream science ever admits they're real. From the megalithic complex hidden in the Ural Mountains that makes Stonehenge look like a practice run, to the underground city carved from solid rock that challenges everything we know about ancient technology. So buckle up, because we're about to dive deep into the frozen heart of Russia, where the impossible becomes reality and the ancient world reveals secrets that science still can't explain. The megalithic mystery of Gornaya Shoria. Deep in the remote wilderness of southern Siberia, where endless forests stretch toward the horizon and winter temperatures drop to -40 degrees, lies a discovery that has archaeologists around the world either fascinated or terrified. Hidden in the Shoria Mountains, a region so isolated that most Russians have never heard of it, stands what might be the largest megalithic complex on Earth. These aren't your typical ancient stones. We're talking about granite blocks that weigh up to 4,000 tons. That's heavier than most modern buildings, stacked with such precision that you can't slip a knife blade between the joints. Arranged in walls that stretch for hundreds of meters through dense forest, rising to heights that would make a cathedral jealous. The local shore people who've lived in these mountains for generations have always known about the stones. They call them the work of giants, the remnants of an ancient city built by beings far larger than humans. For centuries, these stories were dismissed as folklore, primitive explanations for natural rock formations. But in 2013, a team of geologists stumbled upon something that changed everything. Dr. Alexander Berzin was conducting routine surveys for mineral deposits through the forest canopy. What they found when they land, when his helicopter pilot spotted geometric shapes cutting, defied every assumption about prehistoric construction capabilities. Massive polygonal blocks fitted together with tolerances that would challenge modern engineering. The largest single stone they measured was estimated at 4,000 tons, making it 3 times heavier than the largest block at Stonehenge. But here's where it gets really strange. These blocks show clear evidence of being quarried, shaped, and transported. The problem is, the nearest quarry site is over 20 kilometers away, across terrain so rugged that modern heavy machinery would struggle to navigate it. Yet somehow these massive stones were moved through dense forest, up steep mountain slopes, and positioned with mathematical precision. The construction technique is equally baffling. The stones are cut and fitted using a method called polygonal masonry, where irregular shapes are cut to fit together perfectly, creating walls of incredible strength and stability. This sacsayhuaman in Peru and technique is found at only a handful of ancient sites worldwide, including certain structures in Lebanon. The precision required is so extreme that modern stonemasons struggle to replicate it, even with diamond-tipped tools and laser measuring equipment. Russian geologist Valery Uvarov has spent years studying the site, and his conclusions are controversial to say the least. According to his analysis, the megalithic walls show evidence of thermal modification, suggesting the stones were softened using heat before being shaped and positioned. The temperatures required for this process would exceed anything achievable with primitive technology yet there. Researchers have discovered that certain arrangements more puzzling are the acoustic properties of the complexes. No evidence of the massive furnaces or fuel sources such a process would require. Even if stones create resonance chambers that amplify sound in owning tones when struck. Others seem to focus specific ways. Some sections produce deep, doctor, and direct sound waves with pinpoint accuracy. But as a massive acoustic instrument, the age of the complex is another mystery entirely, as if the entire complex was designed not just as a structure. Official dating is proven nearly impossible because the stones themselves are granite, which can't be carbon dated directly. But analysis of organic material found in gaps between blocks suggests the construction could be anywhere from 4,000 to 100,000 years old. That older estimate would place the complex far before the supposed development of megalithic construction techniques anywhere in the world. Local legends add another layer of intrigue. The shore people speak of a time when giants walked the earth, beings twice the height of normal humans who possessed knowledge of stone shaping and astronomical calculation. These giants, according to tradition, built the mountain city as a fortress against an approaching catastrophe. When the disaster came in the form of a great flood or fire from the sky, the giants vanished, leaving only their impossible stone legacy behind. What makes these legends particularly interesting is their specificity. Rather than vague myths about supernatural beings, the stories describe technical details about construction civilization. Elders speak of stone-cutting techniques that involved singing specific methods, astronomical alignments, and even the social structure of the giant frequencies to weaken rock, and of transportation methods that utilized sound and vibration to move massive weights. Modern researchers have found some intriguing correlations with these traditional accounts. Preliminary studies suggest that certain sections of the complex are aligned with celestial events, including solstices and the rising and setting points of specific star groups. If confirmed, this would indicate that the builders possessed sophisticated astronomical knowledge, able to calculate and predict celestial movements with remarkable accuracy. The Soviet government was aware of the site as early as the 1960s, but information was classified and research was limited. Rumors persist that extensive excavations were conducted in secret, uncovering artifacts and structures that challenged accepted historical timelines. Documents that have surfaced since the fall of the USSR hint at discoveries that were deemed too sensitive for public knowledge, including tools and technology that appeared far more advanced than should have been possible for the supposed age of the site. Today, access to Gornaya Shoria remains extremely limited. The remoteness of the location combined with harsh weather conditions and bureaucratic restrictions means that very few independent researchers have been able to conduct thorough investigations. Most of what we know comes from a handful of expeditions and satellite imagery analysis. But what we do know is enough to raise serious questions about our understanding of prehistoric capabilities. The Shoria Mountains complex represents engineering on a scale that challenges fundamental assumptions about ancient technology and social organization. The precision of construction, the massive scale, and the apparent astronomical alignments all point to a level of knowledge and capability that doesn't fit neatly into accepted historical frameworks. The mystery deepens when you consider that this isn't an isolated discovery. Similar megalithic structures using comparable construction techniques have been found across Russia, from the Caucasus Mountains to the shores of Lake Baikal. Each site raises the same uncomfortable questions about who built these structures, how they managed such precise construction, and why evidence of such advanced prehistoric civilizations has been largely ignored by mainstream archaeology. As research continues, one thing becomes increasingly clear. The megalithic complex of Gornaya Shoria represents far more than an impressive ancient construction project. It's evidence of a lost chapter in human history, a civilization that possessed knowledge and capabilities we're only beginning to understand. And it's just the first of many mysteries hidden in Russia's vast wilderness, waiting to challenge everything we thought we knew about our past. The Archaeum Enigma, and Russia's ancient observatory. Just when you think Russia's ancient mysteries can't get more mind-bending, we travel south to the windswept steppes near the Kazakhstan border, where a discovery in 1987 literally stopped a Soviet dam project in its tracks. What archaeologists found buried beneath centuries of grassland sediment wasn't just another ancient settlement. It was a perfectly preserved Bronze Age city that appears to have been designed as a massive astronomical computer. Archaeum, as it came to be known, consists of two concentric circular walls with incredibly precise measurements. The outer wall has a diameter of 143 to 145 meters, while the inner wall measures exactly 85 meters across. But here's where it gets weird. These aren't random numbers. They correspond to specific astronomical calculations that allow the entire city to function as a giant observatory capable of tracking solar, lunar, and stellar movements with frightening accuracy. The layout is so mathematically perfect that some researchers believe it was designed using advanced geometric principles that weren't supposed to exist for another 1,000 years. The city is divided into sectors that align with cardinal directions to within fractions of a degree. Streets radiate outward from the center like spokes on a wheel, creating sight lines that frame the rising and setting positions of celestial bodies at specific times of the year. Dr. Konstantin Bistrushkin, an archaeoastronomer who spent decades studying Archaeum, made calculations that sent shockwaves through the academic community. According to his analysis, the city could track 18 different astronomical events with precision that rivals modern observatories. The builders somehow encoded the movements of the sun, moon, and key star groups into the very architecture of their settlement. But that's not even the strangest part. Carbon dating places Archaeum's construction around 2000 BCE, making it roughly the same age as Stonehenge. The difference is that Archaeum shows evidence of far more sophisticated astronomical knowledge. While Stonehenge tracks basic solar events, Archaeum was apparently designed to predict eclipses, calculate leap years, and track the complex cycles of planetary movement. The construction techniques used at Archaeum are equally baffling. The walls were built using a method that created incredibly strong, fire-resistant barriers. Archaeological evidence shows that the city was designed with sophisticated drainage systems, underground passages, and metallurgical workshops that produced bronze alloys using techniques that weren't supposed to be developed until much later. What really makes Archaeum controversial is what happened to it. After roughly 200 years of occupation, the entire city was deliberately burned and abandoned. Not destroyed by invaders, not gradually declined, but systematically set on fire by its own inhabitants and left empty. Archaeological evidence suggests this was planned. With valuable items removed and the burning conduct, advanced civilization deliberately destroy their own mastered in a controlled manner. Why would end peace? Local legends speak of star watchers who could predict great changes coming to the earth. According to these stories, the city's astronomers calculated that a time of chaos was approaching, and the knowledge contained within Archaeum needed to be preserved elsewhere. The burning wasn't destruction, it was concealment, a way to hide the city until the dangerous period passed. The mystery deepens when you realize that Archaeum isn't alone. The entire region, known as the Land of Cities, contains at least 20 similar settlements, all built using comparable techniques and astronomical alignments. Across hundreds of square kilometers, suggesting a coordinated network of observer cities that functioned as a unified satellite, surveys have revealed circular and spiral patterns scattered system. Russian archaeologist Gennady Zdanovich, who led the original excavations, believes knowledge far exceeding what we attribute to bronze. These settlements represent evidence of a lost civilization that possessed astronomical age cultures. His team discovered artifacts that suggest the inhabitants were master metallurgists, skilled astronom planning that wouldn't be rediscovered until modern times. The artifactors and sophisticated engineers who understood principles of urban themselves are puzzling. Tools and weapons show evidence of advanced metallurgy, with to record celestial observations with remarkable precision bronze alloys that required precise temperature control and sophisticate reveal mathematical symbols and astronomical notations that appeared furnace design. Pottery fragments. Most intriguing are small bronze discs covered in geometric patterns that some researchers believe were used as calculating devices for astronomical predictions. But here's where mainstream archaeology gets uncomfortable. The level of sophistication evident at Arkham suggests these Bronze Age people possessed knowledge that challenges our understanding of technological development. How did a nomadic steppe culture develop such advanced astronomical and engineering capabilities? Where did they acquire the mathematical knowledge necessary to design such precise observatories? Some researchers have proposed that Archaeum represents evidence of knowledge transfer from an even more ancient source. The precision of astronomical calculations and the sophistication of urban design suggest contact with a civilization that had already developed these capabilities over much longer periods. Whether this knowledge came from earlier human cultures that have been lost to history or from some other source entirely remains hotly debated. The Soviet government initially planned to flood the entire area as part of a reservoir project. Only the intervention of archaeologists who recognized the site's importance prevented this destruction. Even so, research was limited and many potential discoveries were lost to bureaucratic delays and funding shortages. Much of what we know about Arkham comes from relatively brief excavation periods conducted under difficult conditions. Today, Arkham has been designated as a protected archaeological site, but access remains restricted. The Russian government has been cautious about allowing extensive international research, and much of the most detailed analysis remains in Russian academic publications that haven't been widely translated or circulated. What makes Arkham particularly significant is how it challenges our assumptions about the development of human civilization. The astronomical knowledge encoded in its design suggests a level of scientific understanding that supposedly didn't exist in the Bronze Age. The urban planning shows sophisticated engineering capabilities. The metallurgical evidence points to advanced technical knowledge. Yet according to conventional archaeology, these capabilities didn't develop until much later periods. Archaeum forces us to consider whether our timeline of human technological development might be fundamentally flawed. Were there advanced civilizations in the Bronze Age that possessed knowledge we've forgotten? Did information survive from even earlier periods that we haven't recognized? The mystery of Arkham connects to a broader pattern of anomalous archaeological discoveries across Russia. From the Caucasus to Siberia, sites are being discovered that show evidence of capabilities that don't fit accepted historical frameworks. Each discovery raises the same uncomfortable questions about what we really know about our past. And as we're about to see, the astronomical sophistication of Archaeum is just a preview of even stranger mysteries hidden in Russia's vast wilderness. Because deep beneath the Ural Mountains lies a discovery that makes ancient observatories look simple by comparison. An underground complex that challenges not just our understanding of prehistoric technology, but the very laws of physics themselves. The underground labyrinth of Manpupuner. If you think massive surface monuments are impressive, wait until you hear about what lies beneath Russia's most sacred mountain range. Hidden deep under the Ural Mountains in a region the local Mansi people call the border between worlds, exists an underground complex so vast and precisely carved that it defies every explanation modern science can offer. The story begins with the 7 giants of Manpupuner, 7 towering stone pillars that rise from a remote plateau like ancient sentinels. For over 1,000 years, the Mansi people have considered this place sacred, forbidden to all but the most powerful shamans. They believe these stone giants are the remains of an ancient battle between good and evil, frozen in time by divine intervention. But the real mystery isn't what stands above ground. It's what lies beneath. In 1999, a geological survey team using ground-penetrating radar made a discovery that would change everything. The readings showed a massive hollow space directly under the stone pillars, stretching for kilometers in multiple directions. Not natural caves, but perfectly geometric chambers connected by corridors that run straight as arrows through solid rock. Dr. Mikhail Volkov, the geologist who led the initial survey, described the readings as impossible. The underground complex appeared to consist of dozens of interconnected chambers, some as large as aircraft hangars carved from bedrock with walls so smooth and precise they seemed almost polished. The corridors connecting these chambers were perfectly circular in cross-section, maintaining consistent dimensions across vast distances. What makes this discovery even more baffling is the depth. The complex begins roughly 50 meters underground and extends downward for at least 200 meters. That's a 20-story building carved downward into solid rock. The amount of material that would need to be excavated is staggering. Millions of tons of granite and limestone removed with surgical precision. But here's where it gets really strange. There's no evidence of where all that excavated rock went. When humans carve underground spaces, they leave debris piles, waste rock, evidence of the excavation process. At Manpupuner, there's nothing. It's as if the rock simply vanished, dissolved away rather than physically removed. The few exploratory shafts that have been drilled into the complex have revealed construction details that make no sense given our understanding of ancient technology. The walls show tool marks that appear to have been made by cutting implements far harder and more precise than anything available to prehistoric cultures. Some sections show evidence of thermal modification, as if the rock was heated and molded rather than carved. Even more puzzling are the acoustic properties of the underground chambers. Seismic testing suggests that the complex acts as a massive resonance chamber, amplifying and focusing sound waves in ways that would require sophisticated understanding of physics and engineering. Some researchers believe the entire system was designed as an acoustic device, though for what purpose remains completely unclear. Local Mansi legends speak of the underground realm as the domain of powerful spirits who possessed knowledge of earth shaping and stone singing. According to these traditions, the spirits could soften rock with sound and shape it with their hands like clay. They built the underground city as a refuge during times of great catastrophe, creating a hidden sanctuary where knowledge could be preserved. What makes these legends particularly intriguing is their technical accuracy. The Mansi describe construction techniques that align remarkably well with what modern surveys have revealed. They speak of chambers that amplify whispers into thunderous sounds, of corridors that carry voices across impossible distances, and of spaces where time itself seems to flow differently. Recent expeditions using more advanced ground-penetrating radar have revealed even more extraordinary details. The complex appears to extend far beyond the initial survey area, with tunnels that may connect to similar underground systems hundreds of kilometers away. If confirmed, this would suggest a vast network of subterranean chambers spanning much of the northern Urals. But perhaps the most unsettling discovery came in 2018 when a small robotic probe was lowered into one of the access shafts. The probe's cameras revealed chambers filled with geometric patterns carved into the walls, complex designs that appear to follow mathematical principles we're only beginning to understand. Some patterns seem to be three-dimensional, creating optical illusions that make the walls appear to move and shift. The probe also detected unusual electromagnetic readings within the complex, equipment designed to measure magnetic fields and electrical activity. Registered fluctuations that don't correspond to any known geological phenomena. Some researchers have suggested the complex may be built over a natural electromagnetic anomaly, while others believe the construction itself somehow generates these unusual readings. Access to the site remains extremely limited. The Russian government has classified much of the research, and the remote location makes independent investigation nearly impossible. The Mansi people, while no longer actively forbidding access, remain deeply uncomfortable with outside interference at their sacred site. What little information has emerged from official sources suggests the underground complex at Manpupuner represents technology far beyond anything we attribute to prehistoric cultures. The precision of construction, the scale of excavation, and the sophisticated understanding of acoustics and engineering all point to capabilities that challenge our fundamental assumptions about ancient human societies. The mystery becomes even more complex when you consider the site's apparent connection to other anomalous locations across Russia. The mathematical principles evident in the chamber designs show similarities to patterns found at Archaeum and other ancient sites. The construction techniques appear related to methods used in megalithic complexes throughout Siberia. This suggests we may be looking at evidence of a lost technological tradition that spanned vast distances across ancient Russia. A civilization that possessed knowledge of underground construction, acoustic engineering, and electromagnetic manipulation that we're only beginning to rediscover with modern science. The implications are staggering. If the Manpupuner complex is what it appears to be, it represents evidence of prehistoric technology that rivals or exceeds our current capabilities in some areas. The ability to carve such precise underground spaces, to manipulate rock with apparent ease, and to create acoustic systems of such sophistication suggests a level of scientific understanding that doesn't fit anywhere in our accepted historical timeline. But Manpupuner is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. As we're about to discover, Russia's ancient mysteries extend far beyond impressive construction projects. deep in the Siberian wilderness lies evidence of technology so advanced, so far beyond what we consider possible for prehistoric cultures, that it challenges not just our understanding of history, but our assumptions about the very nature of ancient human capabilities. The Siberian Death Valley and mysterious metal objects in the remote wilderness of the Sakha Republic, where summer temperatures barely rise above freezing and winter brings months of total darkness, lies one of Russia's most terrifying and inexplicable mysteries. Local Yakut people call it Ulyuyu Cherkachek, which translates roughly as the Valley of Death. It's a place they've avoided for generations, warning that strange metal objects buried in the permafrost bring sickness and madness to anyone who dares approach them. For centuries, these warnings were dismissed as primitive superstition. Then modern explorers began venturing into the region, and the reports they brought back were so bizarre that most were simply ignored by mainstream science. Tales of massive metal domes protruding from the frozen ground, structures so perfectly smooth they seemed like polished mirrors. Descriptions of underground chambers filled with incomprehensible machinery that hummed with energy despite being buried for unknown millennia. The first documented encounter with these mysterious objects came in 1853, when Russian explorer Richard Mach reported finding strange metallic protrusions during a geological survey. His description spoke of dome-like structures made from an unknown metal that remained warm to the touch even in sub-zero temperatures. Local guides refused to approach the objects, insisting they were cursed remnants of an ancient war between sky gods. What makes these accounts particularly unsettling is their consistency across more than a century of independent observations. Explorer after explorer has reported finding the same types of objects, always partially buried in the permafrost, always exhibiting the same unusual properties. Smooth metallic surfaces that show no signs of corrosion despite apparent extreme age. Hollow interiors accessible through perfectly circular openings, and always the strange warmth that seems to radiate from within. In the 1930s, Soviet geologist Mikhail Koretsky led an expedition specifically to investigate these reports. His team located several of the mysterious domes and conducted the first scientific analysis of their composition and structure. What they found challenged every assumption about metallurgy and ancient technology. The objects appeared to be constructed from an alloy unlike anything in known metallurgical science. Analysis suggested a composition primarily of copper, but with trace elements and molecular structures that couldn't be replicated with available technology. The metal showed no signs of oxidation or decay, despite apparent exposure to harsh Siberian conditions for extended periods. Even more puzzling was the object's apparent functionality. Electromagnetic readings suggested the structures were somehow generating their own energy, maintaining internal temperatures well above ambient levels through unknown means. Some domes produced measurable electrical fields, while others seemed to emit low-frequency radio signals that couldn't be decoded or explained. Koretsky's expedition documented chambers beneath the domes that defied logical explanation. Perfectly spherical rooms with walls covered in incomprehensible symbols and geometric patterns. Corridors that stretched into darkness, maintained at comfortable temperatures by invisible heat sources. And throughout the underground complex, a persistent low-frequency hum that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. The most disturbing discovery came when team members began experiencing severe health problems after extended exposure to the objects. Symptoms included nausea, disorientation, hair loss, and skin lesions that resembled radiation burns. Several expedition members died within months of returning from the site, displaying symptoms consistent with what we now recognize as radiation poisoning. This pattern of illness among investigators has persisted across decades of sporadic research. Every expedition that has spent significant time near the mysterious objects has reported similar health effects among team members. The Yakut people's warnings about sickness and madness suddenly seemed far less like superstition and far more like practical safety advice based on generations of bitter experience. Local oral traditions provide disturbing context for these discoveries. Yakut elders speak of a time when fire fell from the sky, followed by the appearance of the metal demons beneath the earth. According to these stories, the objects are weapons left behind from an ancient war fought between beings who commanded technology beyond human understanding. The legends describe how these sky warriors used the buried devices to defend against invaders from the stars, firing beams of destructive energy that could incinerate entire armies. When the war ended, the weapons were left hidden beneath the earth, still active, still dangerous, waiting for their creators to return and reclaim them. What makes these traditional accounts particularly intriguing is their technical accuracy. The descriptions of energy weapons and defensive systems align remarkably well with what modern investigators have observed. The stories speak of devices that could generate tremendous heat and electrical energy, exactly matching the properties measured by scientific instruments. Modern attempts to study the objects have been hampered by their remote location and the persistent health risks associated with close examination. The few detailed analyses that have been conducted suggest technology far beyond anything we associate with prehistoric cultures or, indeed, with current human capabilities in some areas. Metallurgical analysis indicates construction techniques that require precise control of molecular structure and atomic bonding. The energy generation systems appear to operate on principles that aren't fully understood by contemporary physics. The apparent age of the objects, suggested by their deep burial in permafrost layers, would place their construction thousands of years before the development of advanced metallurgy anywhere in the world. Some researchers have proposed that the Siberian objects represent evidence of advanced prehistoric technology, possibly developed by a lost civilization that achieved scientific capabilities we're only beginning to approach. Others suggest the objects may be of non-human origin, artifacts left behind by visitors who possess technology far exceeding our current understanding. The Soviet government conducted classified research on the objects throughout the Cold War period, apparently hoping to reverse engineer advanced technology for military applications. Rumors persist of secret facilities built near the sites, staffed by scientists attempting to unlock the mysteries of the ancient devices. The results of this research remain classified, though unofficial reports suggest the projects were abandoned due to insurmountable technical challenges and unacceptable casualty rates among research personnel. Today, the Valley of Death remains as mysterious and dangerous as ever. Climate change has begun to alter the permafrost layers, potentially exposing more objects or changing the conditions that have kept them stable for millennia. Some researchers worry that environmental changes could trigger unknown responses from the buried devices with potentially catastrophic consequences. The few modern expeditions that have attempted to study the objects continue to report the same phenomena that have puzzled investigators for over a century. Advanced materials that shouldn't exist. Energy generation systems that operate on unknown principles. And always the persistent health risks that suggest these ancient devices remain as dangerous now as they were when the Yakut people first learned to fear them. The mystery of the Siberian metal objects represents perhaps the most challenging anomaly in Russian archaeology. Unlike megalithic structures or astronomical observatories, these devices appear to be functional technology that continues to operate after thousands of years of burial. They suggest capabilities that exceed our current scientific understanding and raise uncomfortable questions about who or what created them. But as mysterious as these buried machines might be, they pale in comparison to our next discovery. Because hidden in the forests of central Russia lies evidence of something even more extraordinary. Ancient structures that appear to defy the very laws of physics, built using principles of engineering that we're only beginning to glimpse in our most advanced theoretical research. The of Lake Baikal, the world's deepest and ancient Hyperborean structures of Lake's oldest freshwater lake, lies a mystery that has marine Baikal. In the crystal-clear depths, archaeologists questioning everything they thought they knew about prehistoric construction. We're not just talking about imperfect geometric patterns submerged beneath or talking about massive stone structures arranged few scattered artifacts on the lake bed. The first indication that something extraordinary lay 400 meters of pristine Siberian water beneath Baikal's surface came in 1982, when a Soviet deep-sea research vessel detected unusual sonar returns from the lake's deepest regions. The readings showed large angular objects arranged in systematic patterns across the lake bed, far too regular and organized to be natural rock formations. What the sonar revealed challenged every assumption about the history of this ancient lake. Massive stone blocks, some weighing hundreds of tons, arranged in concentric circles around central platforms. Linear arrangements of smaller stones extending for kilometers across the lake floor. And most puzzling of all, pyramid-like structures that appeared to be constructed from precisely cut stone blocks. Dr. Alexei Dmitriev, the marine geologist who led the initial survey, described the formations as impossible. Lake Baikal formed approximately 25 million years ago, long before human civilization existed anywhere on Earth. Yet the structures on the lake bed showed clear evidence of intelligent design and sophisticated engineering techniques. The depth at which these structures were found added another layer to the mystery. At 400 meters below the surface, they would have been submerged for at least 12,000 years, dating back to the end of the last ice age when global sea levels were significantly lower. This would place their construction in a time period when, according to conventional archaeology, no civilization possessed the technology necessary for such massive underwater engineering projects. But the mystery deepens when you examine the construction techniques used in these submerged structures. Underwater cameras deployed during subsequent expeditions revealed stonework that exhibited the same polygonal masonry techniques found at sites like Gornaya Shoria and other megalithic complexes across Russia. The blocks were fitted together with tolerances measured in millimeters, creating joints so tight that sediment hadn't accumulated between them despite thousands of years on the lake bed. Even more intriguing were the acoustic properties of these underwater structures. Hydrophones placed near the formations detected low-frequency sound emissions that seemed to originate from the structures themselves. These weren't random noises or geological settling sounds, but organized patterns of acoustic activity that suggested the stone arrangements were somehow still active, still functioning according to their original design parameters. Local Buryat legends speak of a time when Lake Baikal was much smaller, when great cities existed on land that is now covered by deep water. According to these traditional accounts, the ancestors possessed knowledge of stone shaping that allowed them to build structures that would endure even if submerged by rising waters. The legends describe builders who could communicate with the spirits of stone and water, creating monuments that would continue their purpose even beneath the waves. What makes these oral traditions particularly significant is their technical accuracy regarding the lake's geological history. The Buryat stories correctly describe periods when Baikal's water levels were much lower, allowing for construction on areas now hundreds of meters underwater. This knowledge of ancient geological conditions suggests the legends may preserve actual historical memories rather than mythological explanations. The underwater structures also exhibit astronomical alignments that mirror those found at surface sites across Russia. Analysis of their positioning relative to celestial events shows that several of the circular arrangements were designed to track solar and lunar movements as they would have appeared thousands of years ago. This suggests the builders possessed not only advanced construction capabilities, but sophisticated understanding of astronomical calculation and long-term celestial mechanics. Perhaps most mysteriously, the submerged structures appear to be connected by what can only be described as ancient roadways. Stone pathways, perfectly straight and uniformly constructed, extend across the lake bed, connecting the various circular and pyramidal formations. These underwater roads show evidence of careful planning and engineering, with drainage systems and foundation work that would be impressive in modern construction projects. The Soviet government conducted extensive classified research on the Baikal structures throughout the 1980s and 1990s. Declassified documents reveal that military divers were deployed to explore the formations, returning with reports of chambers and passages within the larger structures. Some accounts describe discovering artifacts made from unknown materials, including metallic objects that showed no signs of corrosion despite millennia of submersion. One particularly intriguing classified report describes the discovery of what appears to be a control room within one of the pyramid structures. According to this account, divers found a chamber containing stone panels covered with symbols and geometric patterns that seemed to respond to human presence, emitting light and sound when approached. The report was quickly classified and the divers involved were reassigned to other projects. Modern attempts to study the Baikal structures have been limited by the extreme technical challenges of deep-water archaeology in such a remote location. The lake's pristine ecosystem is heavily protected by Russian environmental laws, making extensive excavation or sample collection nearly impossible. Most research has been limited to sonar mapping and limited camera surveys that barely scratch the surface of what lies beneath. However, recent advances in underwater robotics have begun to reveal new details about the submerged complex. High-resolution cameras have documented inscriptions and carvings on the stone blocks that appear to be some form of written language or symbolic communication system. The symbols don't match any known ancient writing systems, suggesting they represent either a completely unknown culture or a form of communication we haven't yet learned to recognize. The implications of the Lake Baikal structures are staggering. If they are indeed artificial constructions, they represent evidence of advanced engineering capabilities existing thousands of years before such technology was supposed to have been developed. The scale of construction, the precision of stonework, and the sophisticated understanding of astronomy all point to a civilization that possessed knowledge far exceeding what we attribute to prehistoric cultures. But the mystery extends beyond just impressive ancient engineering. The apparent continued functionality of these underwater structures, their acoustic emissions and response to human presence, suggests technology that operates on principles we don't fully understand. It's as if the ancient builders created systems that were designed to remain active across geological timescales, maintaining their purpose even when submerged beneath hundreds of meters of water. The connection between the Baikal structures and other anomalous sites across Russia is becoming increasingly clear. The construction techniques, the astronomical alignments, and the apparent technological sophistication all suggest these represent components of a much larger network of ancient installations, a civilization that spanned vast distances across prehistoric Russia, leaving behind monuments that continue to function according to their original programming thousands of years after their creators vanished. As we continue to uncover more evidence of this lost technological tradition, one thing becomes undeniable. The conventional timeline of human technological development is fundamentally incomplete. Somewhere in our prehistoric past, civilizations existed that possessed capabilities we're only beginning to rediscover, and the evidence of their achievements lies scattered across Russia's vast wilderness, waiting to rewrite our understanding of what our ancestors were truly capable of achieving. The Tunguska event and the crystal skulls of Siberia. On the morning of June 30th, 1908, something exploded over the remote Tunguska region of Siberia with the force of 1,000 Hiroshima bombs. The blast flattened 2,000 square kilometers of forest, creating a shockwave that circled the Earth twice and was detected by seismic stations as far away as London. For over a century, scientists have debated what caused this devastating explosion, But what they discovered in the aftermath may be even more mysterious than the event itself. The official explanation is that a meteor or comet exploded in the atmosphere, creating the massive devastation without leaving a crater. But this theory has problems. No meteorite fragments have ever been found. The explosion pattern doesn't match what would be expected from an aerial burst. And most puzzling of all, the forest began regrowing at an accelerated rate immediately after the blast, as if the explosion had somehow enhanced the soil's fertility rather than sterilizing it. But here's where the story takes a turn into the truly bizarre. In the months following the Tunguska event, local evank hunters began reporting discoveries that defied explanation. Scattered throughout the blast zone, they found crystalline objects that seemed to have been formed by the explosion itself. Not ordinary crystals, but skull-shaped formations made from a material unlike anything found naturally in the region. The first of these crystal skulls was brought to the attention of authorities in 1912 by a hunter named Ilya Potapovich. He described finding the object half buried in the blast zone, glowing faintly in the darkness and emanating a warmth that could be felt from several meters away. When touched, the crystal produced a humming sound that seemed to resonate through the ground itself. Soviet investigators initially dismissed these reports as folklore, but as more crystal skulls were discovered throughout the 1920s and 1930s, official interest began to grow. The objects were unlike any known mineral formation, composed of what appeared to be a form of crystallized silica with trace elements that couldn't be identified using available analytical techniques. Dr. Vladimir Vernadsky, one of Russia's most prominent geochemists, examined several of the skulls in the 1930s and concluded they represented a completely unknown form of matter. His analysis suggested the crystals had been formed under conditions of extreme pressure and temperature that exceeded anything found naturally on Earth. The molecular structure appeared to be artificially organized, as if the crystal lattice had been deliberately designed rather than naturally formed. What made the crystal skulls even more mysterious was their apparent functionality. Each skull exhibited unique electromagnetic properties, generating measurable electrical fields and emitting specific frequencies of electromagnetic radiation. When multiple skulls were brought into proximity, they seemed to resonate with each other, creating harmonic patterns that could be detected by sensitive instruments. Local shamans of the Evenk people claimed the skulls possessed supernatural properties, describing them as vessels for the spirits of ancient ancestors who had been transformed by the great fire from the sky. According to their traditions, the skulls could communicate knowledge directly into the minds of those who knew how to listen, revealing secrets about the nature of reality and the cosmos. These claims seemed like pure superstition until researchers began documenting the psychological effects experienced by people who spent extended periods near the crystal skulls. Subjects reported vivid dreams filled with complex mathematical concepts and astronomical information they had never encountered before. Some described visions of advanced civilizations and technologies that seemed far beyond current human capabilities. In 1953, Soviet physicist Andrei Sakharov led a classified research project specifically focused on understanding the crystal skulls and their connection to the Tunguska event. His team discovered that the skulls exhibited properties consistent with artificially structured matter, suggesting they had been created using technology that exceeded contemporary Soviet capabilities. Sakharov's research revealed that the crystal skulls appeared to store and process information in ways similar to early computer systems, but using principles of quantum mechanics that weren't well understood at the time. The skulls seemed to contain vast amounts of encoded data, accessible only through specific resonance frequencies that had to be precisely calibrated for each individual object. The most startling discovery came when researchers realized that the skulls contained detailed astronomical information, including precise calculations of planetary orbits, stellar positions, and cosmic events spanning thousands of years into the past and future. The accuracy of this data exceeded what would have been possible using any known ancient astronomical techniques. This led to the disturbing possibility that the Tunguska event wasn't a random cosmic accident, but a deliberately triggered phenomenon designed to create the conditions necessary for forming the crystal skulls. The precision required to generate objects with such specific properties suggested the involvement of intelligence far exceeding anything attributed to early 20th century human civilization. Recent analysis using modern quantum physics techniques has revealed even more extraordinary properties of the crystal skulls. They appear to operate as quantum information storage devices capable of maintaining coherent quantum states across macroscopic scales. This represents technology that our current understanding of physics suggests should be impossible. Yet the skulls demonstrate these capabilities consistently and reproducibly. The implications are staggering. If the crystal skulls were indeed created by the Tunguska event, then whatever caused that explosion possessed knowledge of advanced physics and materials science that exceeds our current capabilities. The ability to deliberately trigger such a precise explosion, designed to create specific conditions for forming quantum information storage devices, suggests technology and scientific understanding far beyond anything we associate with early 20th century Earth. But the mystery extends beyond just advanced technology. The astronomical information stored within the skulls includes data about cosmic events and celestial mechanics that wouldn't have been observable using any technology available in 1908. This suggests the skulls contain knowledge that was either calculated using extraordinarily advanced theoretical physics, or was acquired through direct observation using capabilities that far exceed our current scientific instruments. The Soviet government maintained strict secrecy around the crystal skull research throughout the Cold War period. Rumors persist that attempts were made to reverse engineer the quantum storage technology for military applications, but these projects were apparently abandoned due to the insurmountable technical challenges involved. Today, the crystal skulls remain one of Russia's most closely guarded archaeological secrets. Access to the objects is extremely limited, and most research has been conducted by government scientists working under strict security protocols. The few details that have emerged suggest the skulls continue to exhibit their mysterious properties, storing and transmitting information according to principles we're only beginning to understand. The connection between the Tunguska event and the crystal skulls raises profound questions about the nature of that explosion and the intelligence behind it. Whether the event was triggered by advanced human technology, non-human visitors, or some other phenomenon we haven't yet recognized, the evidence suggests it was far more than a simple cosmic accident. And as we've seen throughout our journey across Russia's ancient mysteries, the crystal skulls represent just another piece in a much larger puzzle. A puzzle that suggests our understanding of prehistoric capabilities, ancient technology, and the very nature of human civilization may be fundamentally incomplete. The secrets buried in Russia's vast wilderness continue to challenge everything we thought we knew about our past and perhaps our future as well. The ancient star maps of the Kola Peninsula. Our final journey takes us to the desolate Arctic wilderness of the Kola Peninsula, where temperatures plunge to -50 degrees and the sun disappears for months at a time. Here, in one of Earth's most inhospitable environments, lies a discovery that may represent the ultimate proof that our ancestors possessed knowledge far beyond what mainstream science is willing to admit. In 2003, a routine geological survey near the Norwegian border detected massive underground anomalies using ground-penetrating radar. What they found buried beneath layers of permafrost and volcanic rock was a complex of chambers containing what can only be described as a three-dimensional star map of impossible precision and antiquity. The underground observatory, as researchers have come to call it, consists of 17 interconnected chambers carved from solid granite with mathematical precision that defies explanation. But it's not the construction technique that has scientists baffled. It's what's inside these chambers that challenges our fundamental understanding of prehistoric astronomy and possibly the very origins of human civilization. The walls of each chamber are covered floor to ceiling with intricate star charts carved directly into the stone. Not simple constellation patterns, but detailed three-dimensional representations of stellar positions, galactic structures, and cosmic phenomena that shouldn't have been visible to ancient observers using primitive instruments. The level of detail is so extraordinary that modern astronomers using advanced telescopes have confirmed the accuracy of stellar positions dating back over 13,000 years. Dr. Elena Komarova, the astrophysicist who led the analysis of these star maps, made a discovery that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. The charts don't just show stellar positions from Earth's perspective. They show the view from multiple locations throughout our local galaxy, as if the creators had somehow observed these star systems from vantage points hundreds of light years away. The implications are staggering. To create such accurate representations would require either advanced space travel capabilities or theoretical knowledge of stellar mechanics that we've only developed within the last century. Yet carbon dating of organic materials found within the chambers suggests they were sealed over 10,000 years ago, long before the development of writing, mathematics, or even basic agricultural techniques according to conventional archaeology. But the mystery deepens when you examine the specific stellar phenomena depicted in these ancient charts. The carvings show detailed representations of pulsars, binary star systems, and even what appears to be black holes, complete with accurate depictions of their gravitational effects on surrounding matter. This level of astronomical knowledge requires not just observation but sophisticated understanding of physics principles that weren't formally discovered until the 20th century. Local Sami legends speak of the Star Watchers, ancient beings who possessed the ability to travel between worlds using pathways written in the sky. According to these traditions, the Star Watchers built the underground observatory as a navigation center, a place where they could calculate routes across vast cosmic distances and predict the movements of celestial bodies with perfect accuracy. What makes these legends particularly intriguing is their technical specificity. Rather than vague myths about sky gods, the Sami stories describe detailed procedures for reading stellar positions, calculating travel times between distant stars, and using cosmic phenomena as navigational landmarks. These aren't the kinds of details you'd expect to find in primitive folklore about supernatural beings, from the megalithic walls of Gornaya Shoria to the crystal skulls of Tunguska, from the astronomical precision of Arkham to the star maps buried beneath Arctic ice. Russia's ancient mysteries paint a picture that mainstream archaeology refuses to acknowledge. These aren't random anomalies or primitive curiosities. They're evidence of civilizations that possess knowledge and capabilities that challenge everything we think we know about our past. The precision, the scale, the impossible engineering, the advanced astronomical understanding. It all points to one unavoidable conclusion. Our history is incomplete, and the secrets buried in Russia's vast wilderness are just waiting for science to finally admit they're real.